My name's John Murray. I'm the owner of Scobie's Grill here in sunny Yarrington, Nevada.
Sunny, well, not today, but
Miserable Yarrington, Nevada today,
Yeah.
weather-wise.
You've had this restaurant for how long now?
18 months, a little
18
over.
months, and you opened up in a pretty bad economy.
Yeah, it was a great idea. I thought I'd wait till the absolute bottom and open up.
Yeah.
I was wrong by about a year and a half.
But you've hung in there.
Yeah, we're still here.
You're still here.
We passed that first year, which is always the first one's the hardest,
Yeah.
and we've done that. So
And you've been in Yarrington how long?
2000, I moved here in 2003,
Okay, so that's
9 years.
9 years. So you're kind of a newcomer. We've talked to a lot of folks that have been here for 50 years and stuff, but
Sure.
you obviously came to here. You chose to come to Yarrington.
Yes, I chose
What
to
do,
follow
what do
my
you
wife.
think? What do you? What do you think are the what do you think are the qualities in Yarrington that you like about living here?
Honestly, the first thing, it was the golf course.
Yeah.
I had an opportunity to live on one. I gave that opportunity up, but I have an opportunity to live on one, and I like the idea of
Yeah.
it. I like the idea of the small town. At the time we moved here, it was a different economy. It was a more vibrant
Right.
community, so it was a lot more interesting than, unfortunately, it is today. But
Yeah.
over time, it's gotten a little bit tougher, but it's still a great community.
Yeah. So the community is still.
The people are fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, the people are just, that old adage about small town America, it's really true.
Yeah.
People, I remember driving down one of my first times here with a real estate agent, George Mosley, God rest his soul, and he waved at somebody, and I said, George, you seem to know everybody. He just said, no, that's a friend I haven't met yet.
Oh, okay.
And that's I thought that was really great.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that kind of stuck with me, and it's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
And I now do that.
Yeah. But so your perspective is obvious as of a businessman who's trying to make a go of it here, and what would you say is missing from Yarrington?
Oh, I don't know, a mine.
An economy, maybe?
Yeah, economy. It was much more vibrant when I moved
Right,
here. We've
right.
been over the years. We have some other property in town that we thought would be different than it is. We got caught like a lot of people in the economic downturn, and
Yep.
and unfortunately, I can't speak to other communities since I don't live there, but in this one, it's been hit extremely hard, and it's a big climb to get out of it.
Right.
Big climb, because it's a devastating blow.
Yeah.
I think the numbers for the census, I don't think they're necessarily accurate. I think they've overpopulated us a little bit, because I'm sure a lot of people just simply had to leave. There's
Right.
no work.
Right.
There's no reason to stay here unless
Right.
you're retired
Right.
or an avid golfer.
Right. And you followed us pretty closely. You kind of followed the mine development, the
Very
land
closely.
transfer, and now most recently the stipulation, if we can call it that, of having a wilderness component in the legislation. Folks have worked for the last 3-4 months to come up with a compromise. You think that's a worthy endeavor? You think that's something that's...
I think it's a worthy endeavor, but I think it's ridiculous that it has to be done.
Yeah.
I don't see what one has to do with the other.
Right.
If I were to open a library, would I need to have a goat farm first?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't see what one has got to do with the other. I understand the theory of the potentially a environmental blight, for want of a better term, as far as the mine is concerned by appearance, but again, I don't see what one has got to do with the other. I believe they're separate entities, and before I moved here, I believe it was put to the people, and they said, no, we don't want a wilderness area.
Yeah.
It would seem to me the right of the people would outvote the vote of a couple of politicians that may or may not want it. So
Right.
I think the mine's a viable thing that's going to just enormously benefit the community with little or no downside, except for the few people that don't want any growth whatsoever. But
Right.
there's always going to be somebody that's unhappy. But in this particular case, I believe it's a good thing for the city, the county, the state, and arguably the whole West Coast.
Right.
It's going to affect an awful lot of people that need help,
Right.
that need work.
Right. But I mean, if we've been in a position where we said we would determine if there was some kind of a reasonable compromise to address that issue, and if people have gone through that process, do you think it's worthy of consideration at least to say?
I think all the merit goes to Nevada Copper, who's doing
Well-
things that, again, I don't believe should be necessary,
Yeah.
but it's a shame that it has to be done, that it's got to be turned from a simple business plan into a environmental business plan.
Yeah.
And you're being asked to control land that you have no control over.
Right.
In a community that doesn't want it controlled.
Right.
So you're stuck between a rock and a hard place. So I think the compromise with the Sage area and the Bald Mountain, it's the best of a bad lot.
Yeah.
Again, I think if the people wanted it, we should vote on it. If we don't, we don't.
Yeah.
And I don't see why it's put on the shoulders of an individual company
Right.
to get something that is unrelated.
Right. Have you ever been down in that area at all?
Once I went fishing one time with myself and a professional fisherman and my wife, and I caught a fish
on the East Walker River.
yeah, and I caught a fish and the professional fisherman didn't.
Oh, okay.
Which now makes me a professional fisherman.
But I mean, you probably, a lot of this information hasn't been available, but that was one of the key issues. And the current recommendation leaves the river out of the wilderness so that continued use could continue. But in your 9 years, have you seen people want that, don't they? Or I mean,
They
the
want
local,
they want
they
the
want
river.
to be able to get to the
Yes,
river.
I mean, people here love access. I mean,
Right.
I think it's why a lot of people come to Nevada. They want the government out of their lives.
Yeah.
That's why they came here,
Yeah.
for that, because it has the implication of more freedom. The government isn't involved.
Right.
And it's a rural state. It's a rural community. There are really only, arguably, two main cities with Reno and Vegas. I'm sure some other cities might be
Elko,
upset by that,
yeah.
but I mean, the reality is they're the
Right.
two population centers, and everything else is considered rural, and that's what people like. So,
Right.
so to move to a rural area and have the government just come along and demand that they want to have a 40, 50, 80, 90,000 acre reserve where there wasn't one. And I have a lot of my customers here telling me they frequent that area on their quads all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And they object to the idea of having any control over what they believe to be their land,
Yeah.
which of course it is our land, since
Yeah.
it's us, it is our
Right,
land.
right.
And they don't like the idea of it being controlled in any way.
The quad people go on the roads for the most part.
Sure.
And what that was one of the key considerations was there was a lot of interest in that, and most of the area with any roads were left out, and the one road that goes into the proposed wilderness area is retained. It will still be legal to drive your vehicle or your quad up there on that road.
I would think that would satiate most people's needs. If
Right.
if that allows them to have a large portion of what they had, so arguably the access they're losing isn't that great, then I would think, again, for me, being somebody who doesn't go there that
Yeah.
often, to me the trade-off is well worth it.
Right.
We're going to put people back to work, which is what it's all we see on television,
Right.
how the right and the left are pointing
Right.
at us saying we want to put people back to work.
Right.
And here's an opportunity to do it.
Right.
So I'm all in favor of the compromise.
Right.
So again, being somebody who doesn't own a quad, who doesn't frequent the area, I understand why other people don't want it controlled. But for me, I don't want to come off wrong as saying the greater good, but the reality is the benefit to more people is the mine.